Hello, beautiful soul. Before we start, let's grab an oil. I've got some wild orange here with me today. And one of my favorite ways to use wild orange is really simply by putting a little drop in the palm of my hand, rubbing it together, and then taking 3 long, big, deep breaths in and a gentle, soft exhale out. So do that with me. Just feel your shoulders begin to relax. Feel your jaw and your cheeks and your eyes soften. Feel the breath returning to the parts of your body that feel constricted. And allow wild orange to permeate every part of you that needs a little lightness and a little playfulness. And something a little bit more bubbly and joyful. I wanted to share with you some information about my own journey and the reason behind it, why I've created Roots. And especially and specifically my experience around transforming helplessness into strength and confidence and trust of myself, trust of the universe, trust in the whole experience of it all. And this is important. It's important because every single offering that I create and bring to you is born from my own experience, how I have been through the depths and darkness of the shadow and then brought it into the light. And basically what that means is, how do you transform something that feels like it's disempowering and creating helplessness into something that is altogether alchemical in nature and feels like you've overcome it, created something positive out of it? And I would say, if that was one way of describing my experience up until now, it's definitely been about how do I create something positive out of something that feels at the time completely and utterly overwhelming and intense and at times almost destroying, which all sounds like big experiences. And so I'm here as a guide, as a teacher, to offer insight, offer experiences, offer tools and techniques on how we can do that journey together. But I thought it would be really lovely to share with you my experience so far, especially as today is 9/11 and 20 years ago on the day of 9/11, my journey started. And I can already feel this sense of emotion rising up inside of me as I talk about it, just because we've created something positive out of pain and suffering doesn't mean that there's still not a charge attached, a really deep feeling connected to that experience. And I have a lot of respect for the person who started that journey. I have a lot of respect for the experience itself. And so I wanted to share that with you. So before we talk about that, I think it's useful to note a little bit about what it was like for me growing up. Just some brief context. I'm a sensitive soul, and when I was growing up, sensitivity wasn't really something that was acknowledged or a thing. It probably came out as, oh, you're too sensitive, you should grow a thicker skin, which is an interesting thing to talk about anyway. But back when I was growing up in the 80s, it wasn't really, sensitivity wasn't something that was around. It wasn't something that parents were taught about, raising a highly sensitive child. everyone had to fit in a certain type of box, and if they didn't, then they just kind of tried to be squashed in, didn't they? And so that was part of a really significant part of what it felt like growing up, being somebody who was constantly on the outside of things, an outsider. Misunderstood was definitely an experience I had. And I wanted to please, like I talk about being a recovering people pleaser, a people pleaser wound. I definitely wanted to please. I wanted to make other people happy. I wanted to be recognized for creating something positive for them. And even though at the time it always felt like unconsciously I was going against what was right for me. So there were these two conflicting energies. This one that made me want to please everybody, especially those I could get recognition from for being a good girl. And then there was this other part of me that wanted something different. Very early on, I was very tapped into this feeling of creating change, or looking at the system, looking at what I was growing up in and just picking it apart, and unconsciously feeling that this was wrong and how it was set up didn't feel good. But that was all very unconscious, so it just came out very reactively and rebelliously. And those two feelings of being a people pleaser and then being a rebellious person were at such conflict with each other. And it wasn't until much later in life that I found ease within that. And so it created a lot of anxiety and a lot of depression within me. And I'd say I was always on edge with everything that was going on. I was trying to overthink everything. I was looking at the future and trying to analyze all of the potential possibilities and probabilities of what could happen, and trying to predict the types of things that were going to happen. And 9 times out of 10 I was never right, which just fueled this anxiety, this need for control, need for trying to create control in my environment. My inner world was so loud all the time, and I had no idea what to do with all these big feelings. So I thought if I could control the outside world, then what was happening on the inside wouldn't be so big. And so, yeah, I spent hours in that space, hours in my head trying to analyze everything, constantly being told, you're overthinking it, it's too much, what are you doing, try not to think. And I was like, how do I do that? I don't know what you're talking about. And so this reinforced this feeling of not being good enough, not enough, too much, too intense, happened a lot. And it didn't feel like there was anybody who could talk to me about this experience that was going on. So I felt very alone, very isolated. And so I would do, especially in my teenage years, I would do whatever I could to numb these intense feelings, from alcohol to drugs to especially food. Food has been something that I found has been a really good crutch for many situations. And whilst they were never the answer, they got me through certain times. And, you can't say that they haven't helped on this journey in some way, even if it's been a distorted way. It still had a part to play in my experience. And then, so that was from sort of 14 to 22. And then when I got to uni, and I think I was about 22, and 9/11 happened. And I remember being in my living room in this house share that I was in London. And my flatmates at the time, they were both out for the day. And so it was just me on my own in my living room. And for some reason, I don't know why, I had this bottle of red wine. And I remember drinking red wine whilst watching the news over and over again, watching the Twin Towers, watching and the planes, and all these people suffering, all these people just experiencing the worst kind of trauma. And my whole body, and I couldn't stop myself. I felt like I was addicted to watching this suffering, this unfolding. And I just kept thinking, oh my God, we're going to go into World War III. This is it, we're done. And it went very end of times nihilistic in my head. And in that moment, unbeknownst to me, my nervous system went into fight or flight. It almost actually into freeze mode. And I just couldn't comprehend what I was seeing. There was just so much suffering that was happening. And I can still picture myself in that moment and just having this complete inability to comprehend anything that was going on. And my reaction to it, I didn't know how to react to it. I didn't know what to do with it. I didn't understand what was going on with it. I felt extremely lost and confused, and I just couldn't make sense of it. In hindsight, I now realize that, looking back on it, I didn't have any frame of reference, any tools, any way of being able to even stop myself from watching the TV. So I started to, and so I didn't have any foundation. I didn't have any roots or foundation to be able to support me during this time. And so I started having panic attacks. In fact, I'd say I had one long panic attack every single day, all day long, for 6 months. And I tried everything I could get my hands on that was available to me, from counseling to going to see a Catholic priest, going to see a Baptist pastor, going to see a vicar. I tried everything. I went to see a medium, a psychic, because I honestly thought I was going mad. I honestly thought I was losing my mind, and actually thought that maybe this was the end of my time and I could die the following day. It was such a traumatic time, and I thought that it was never going to end. I couldn't see a way out of it. I just thought that this was it, and there was nothing else I could do. Every day I prayed to the universe. Every single day I prayed and said, please help. I'm lost and I don't know what to do. Please help me. And I wanted to understand why. And at the same time, I just wanted a normal life. I just wanted to get on with my life. I just wanted to go to uni, finish my work, and maybe find a boyfriend, get married, settle down, and just have a normal life. And yet, once again, I was faced with these two conflicting energies, this whole idea of needing to understand the meaning of life and the why, as well as just wanting something to blend in, to be normal, to not have anything that was out of the ordinary. These two things just kept playing at me over and over again. And I found a coach during that time who was really beneficial, really, really helpful to just bring me back to talking about myself and to understand a little bit more. He gave me some great context. He gave me some tools to be able to frame what I was experiencing in a more grounded and positive way. And whilst it wasn't completely what I needed at that time, it was exactly what I needed. And I do feel there was a lot of divine intervention in a lot of these experiences and a lot of the things that happened to me. And so, eventually time helped, and I did stop having panic attacks. I did start to get back into doing things that felt good. I got a job after uni, and I did meet somebody. I got married. And then unfortunately, in 2010, I had a daughter who died. And then I had problems conceiving with my next child, who I was, because you really desperately want to be a mum, right? And if that speaks to you, as that's your experience, and then when you've had the experience of it and you lose it, it's like you're constantly chasing that experience again, because you were so close and then it felt like it got taken from you. And I remember after that happened, I remember thinking the grief of this experience was either going to take me whole and draw me down into the depths of despair and keep me there, eat me alive, and the darkness would fill my heart, and that would be me for the rest of my days. Or I was going to try and make something different out of this. And it was really clear to me that I was at a choice point. And whilst in hindsight, looking back on it, I don't think I realized the significance at the time of that choice. But I do remember thinking, right, I can either do something with this, or I can let this consume me and annihilate me. And there was still a part of me that wanted more. I wanted to create something positive, and I wanted to live a happy, joyful life. And even though I wondered at points whether that was ever going to be a possibility for me, it was still a hope and a desire that I had. And I had problems conceiving with my son after that, which was another journey. And then I had massive anxiety when he was born. I had massive, massive anxiety that he was going to die. And then my marriage broke down. And then I left my corporate job and started up my own business. And I had health challenges all in that time as well. And it felt like a lot. Honestly, do you know what I mean? It felt like a lot. It felt like I was at my upper limit of what I could handle pretty much every single day. But my intention, I knew my intention was to create, I wanted more. I wanted not to be suffering anymore. I wanted to not feel helpless anymore. And I didn't know whether that was a possibility for me. I really didn't. I thought I would look around at other people and just imagine that this was something that other people could do, but definitely not me. And yet, for some reason, I kept believing and hoping that it was something that could happen for me. There's those two conflicting energies again, this idea that I can't and it won't, and this energy of more, once more, these two things sitting side by side. And yeah, I mean, I'm very grateful for all those experiences now, because they really transformed me. They really offered me an opportunity to create something different and to go towards that more positive choices that I was wanting to make. And each one of those experiences basically challenged the core beliefs that I had about myself. They challenged the life that I had built for myself based on what I now know to be a series of belief systems created by society, that I should be living this way, that I should be this, that I should be that life is like this, and that be good, be a good girl, be quiet, don't stand out, do as you're told, get a job, do it this way, earn lots of money, and all these shoulds, that you should be happy. And if you do all of these things, then you will get the money that you need, the husband that you want, the life that you want, the kids go to the right school, and everything will just slot into place. And these belief systems that I had, they just kept getting challenged. Anytime I thought, this is what I'm supposed to be doing, this is what I should be doing, the universe would come along and go, is it really? Are you sure? And I'd be like, no, it is. And the universe would say, actually, it's not. And what I realized was these core beliefs that I had about myself that actually hadn't come from deep within my soul and my heart. They'd come from outside of me. They created pain and suffering, like this conflicting experience within me all the time. And I felt helpless. I felt hopeless a lot of the time. And I felt like I was doing life wrong. Can you relate to that? Doing life wrong. A secret that somebody else knows about that I'm not allowed to know about. That was such a strong feeling for me, that I was just getting it wrong all the time. It was this conflict between letting myself telling myself just to pull myself together. I was constantly saying, just pull yourself together. You'll be fine, just pull yourself together. Which was such a violent thought. And this is what I mean about the core beliefs, versus this knowing that I needed outside help. I needed somebody to say, try this, do this, have a go at this, give this a go. And when I was going through a lot of this stuff, these kind of things were not really available. And so it made me question a lot of my core beliefs. And what came out of that has been what has been. The understanding that it's really, really important to figure out what feels good for you. What do you want to believe? How do you want to live your life? How do you relate to yourself and the beliefs that you have about yourself? And do they create suffering and pain? Or do they feel expansive and life-affirming and give you confidence to trust yourself, to trust that in the midst and depths of whatever's going on for you, that you know you've got your own back? I definitely feel like I spent the first 40 years of my life in the first half, and now I'm practicing what it means to be in the second half, to really fully know that I've got my own back, that I can trust myself in the core of, doesn't matter whatever's happening, that I know that I've got the tools and the understanding and the skills in order to be able to navigate whatever comes my way. I am so passionate about helping every person who feels helpless and hopeless to alchemize those feelings with skills and perceptions and understandings into something that feels strong and hopeful and powerful and connected to your inner truth. This for me is the most important thing, because when you feel like you can trust yourself, when you're connected to your beliefs and your things inside of you, your heart, your the things that matter, you start to understand that no matter what comes your way, you can handle it. You are rooted and grounded in yourself. You are connected to the universe. You are connected to your guides. You are connected to something greater than you, as well as knowing that when the chips are down, when things get tough, when things are good as well, that you can trust yourself to come home, to come into your heart and find the way that is right for you and that will benefit you and keep you strong. So in summary, Roots is a program to bring you back to yourself. And I'm inviting you into this alchemical container of remembering that at the core of who you are, no matter what comes your way, you can handle it. You can thrive with it. You can create something that feels like you can do it. You've got this. It's going to be okay. And you will feel grounded and rooted and stable. So you can go with the flow, like the leaves on the tree. When the wind blows, you just bend and move, but you don't break. And when the wind is blowing, the roots are deep down into the soil, into the earth, and you're connected with the microorganisms and the fungi and the water and the spirits, and you're connected with it all. And they too will support you, and you know that you are strong and grounded and rooted. The tools, the understandings and the practices that we use in Roots are really easy to apply every day. They're easy to implement. They don't take up much time. They don't mean that you have to stop everything. They can be added into your life easily, but they will create so much magic, so much change, and so much positivity that honestly, I think you'll be really incredibly and happily surprised and pleased. The aim of all of this is to feel empowered. The aim is to move from helplessness and hopelessness to that feeling of inner deep strength and connection to yourself, to the universe, to something greater that is always there for you, that's been inside you the whole time and is there just to feel discovered, to be discovered once more. And our allies in the plant medicine world, the essential oils, are going to be used throughout this process and program. And honestly, you'll be amazed at the significance that they bring on the aroma point therapy points that we use on the body. And I have some truly delicious and surprise guests that are going to come along and be part of this journey. And I cannot wait to do this experience and this journey with you. So if you'd like to find out more, please go and have a look at www.dawnlust.com/roots. If you've got any questions, please reach out to me. The early bird finishes tonight at midnight. So that's Saturday, the 11th of September. It finishes tonight. It also comes with some super bonuses that finishes this evening also. So if you want to make the most of those, please do reach out to me and let me know, or you can subscribe directly onto the website. In the meantime, let's do this together. Let's create strong foundations. Let's create inner empowerment, beauty, strength, courage, trust and surrender, and all of those important things, especially at a time like this. And so from my heart to yours, have a lovely day, and I'll speak to you soon.